The old janitor is on his knees, scrubbing the floor outside the officers' mess hall. His back hurts. His hands shake. But he smiles anyway. He always smiles. Lieutenant Morrison walks past, coffee in hand, talking on his phone. He doesn't see the wet floor sign. He slips. Coffee goes everywhere. All over his uniform. All over the janitor. Morrison explodes. Screams at the old man. Calls him worthless. Stupid. A waste of space. The janitor says nothing. Just stands there, soaked in coffee, looking at this 25-year-old kid who thinks he knows everything. And then the base commander walks around the corner. Sees the janitor. Sees the lieutenant. And stops dead. Because Colonel Sarah Mitchell knows something that Lieutenant Morrison doesn't. She knows this janitor outranks everyone on this entire base. Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Present day. The janitor's name was Henry Foster. 72 years old. Gray hair. Weathered face. Hands that trembled when he held the mop. He'd been working at Fort Campbell for 15 years. Cleaning bathrooms. Mopping floors. Emptying trash cans. Everyone knew him. Morning, Henry. Hey, Henry. How you doing, Henry? He was part of the furniture. Invisible. Just another old man working a job nobody else wanted. But Henry Foster had a secret. A secret so big that if anyone on that base knew the truth, they would never look at him the same way again. Because 50 years ago, Henry Foster wasn't a janitor. He was Captain Henry Foster. And in 1968, in a place called Khe Sanh, Vietnam, he did something that would earn him the highest military decoration in the United States. The Medal of Honor. Lieutenant James Morrison was 25 years old. Fresh out of West Point. 6 months at Fort Campbell. He was smart. Ambitious. And absolutely certain he was destined for greatness. He walked around the base like he owned it. Talked down to enlisted soldiers. Ignored sergeants with 20 years of experience. And he definitely didn't have time for some old janitor who moved too slow and smiled too much. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Henry was on his knees outside the officers' mess hall. The floor was wet. He'd put up the yellow warning sign. Clear as day. But Morrison wasn't paying attention. He was on his phone. Arguing with someone. Walking fast. Angry. He hit the wet floor at full speed. His feet went out from under him. The coffee cup flew from his hand. Brown liquid sprayed everywhere. All over his pristine uniform. All over Henry. Morrison landed hard on his back. For a second he just lay there stunned. Then the embarrassment hit. Then the rage. He scrambled to his feet, coffee dripping from his face, and turned on Henry. What the hell is wrong with you? Morrison's voice echoed down the corridor. Why didn't you warn me? Are you blind? Are you stupid? Look at my uniform. Do you know how much this costs? Henry stood slowly. He was soaked in coffee. It dripped from his gray hair, ran down his wrinkled face. He looked at Morrison with calm, patient eyes. The kind of eyes that had seen too much to be rattled by a 25-year-old having a tantrum. I put up the sign, sir, Henry said quietly. It's right there. Morrison didn't even look. I don't care about your sign. You should have stopped me. You should have. He gestured wildly at Henry, at the mess, at everything. You're worthless. You know that? Absolutely worthless. They should fire you. Put someone competent in this job. Henry didn't respond. Just stood there dripping coffee, that small smile still on his face. And that smile made Morrison even angrier. Are you smiling? You think this is funny? Morrison stepped closer, his face red. I could have you fired. One word to my CO and you're gone. You understand that? Nobody would miss you. Nobody would even notice. That's when Colonel Sarah Mitchell walked around the corner. She was coming from her morning briefing, coffee in hand, reviewing something on her tablet. She looked up. Saw Morrison yelling. Saw Henry standing there soaked in coffee. And she froze. Her tablet clattered to the floor. Morrison turned, saw the colonel, immediately straightened. Colonel Mitchell, ma'am. I was just... But Mitchell wasn't looking at him. She was staring at Henry. Her face had gone pale. Her hand moved slowly to her chest, to her heart. General Foster? Her voice was barely a whisper. Morrison blinked. What? Mitchell walked past Morrison like he didn't exist. She stopped 3 feet from Henry. And then, in the middle of that corridor, with coffee still dripping from the old janitor's face, Colonel Sarah Mitchell came to attention and saluted. A crisp, perfect salute. The kind you give to someone who outranks you by so much that words don't even matter. Henry returned the salute. Slowly. Tiredly. Like he'd done it 10,000 times before and didn't want to do it again. Colonel, he said softly. It's just Henry now. Has been for a long time. Morrison looked between them, completely lost. What's happening? Mitchell didn't drop her salute. Her eyes were fixed on Henry. Sir, I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were. She couldn't finish the sentence. Henry finally lowered his hand. It's fine, Sarah. Nobody knows. That's how I want it. Mitchell dropped her salute but stayed at attention. With respect, sir, that's not fine. You shouldn't be. She gestured at the mop bucket, the wet floor, the coffee stains on his janitor's uniform. This isn't right. Morrison's voice cracked. Would someone please tell me what the hell is going on? Mitchell turned to him. Her expression had changed. The professionalism was gone. Now there was something cold. Something dangerous. Lieutenant Morrison. Do you know who you just called worthless? Morrison looked at Henry. The old man was wringing coffee out of his shirt. The janitor? Mitchell's jaw tightened. That janitor is Major General Henry Foster. Retired. Medal of Honor recipient. Vietnam War. Khe Sanh, 1968. He saved 18 men in a battle that should have killed everyone. He held a position against an entire NVA regiment for 6 hours. 6 hours, Lieutenant. Wounded 3 times. Out of ammunition. And he still didn't retreat. The President of the United States personally hung that medal around his neck. The color drained from Morrison's face. I didn't? No, Mitchell said coldly. You didn't? Because you didn't bother to look. Didn't bother to ask. You just assumed. Because he's old. Because he mops floors. You assumed he was nobody. She looked at Henry. General Foster commanded the 82nd Airborne Division. He was being considered for chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And then his wife got sick. Cancer. He retired early to take care of her. When she died, he didn't want to go back. So he came here. Took a job as a janitor. Because this is where he wanted to be. Close to soldiers. Close to the life he loved. But quietly. Without the attention. Without the ceremony. Henry picked up his mop. Sarah, it's really okay. The kid made a mistake. We all make mistakes. But Mitchell shook her head. No, sir. With respect, it's not okay. You've given everything to this country. You don't deserve to be treated like. Henry cut her off. His voice was still gentle, but there was steel underneath. Command. The kind of voice that had ordered men into battle and brought them home alive. Colonel Mitchell. I chose this. I chose to be here. I chose this job. And I don't need anyone making a fuss about it. Is that understood? Mitchell stood at attention. Yes, sir. Henry looked at Morrison. The young lieutenant was pale, shaking slightly. Son, you made a mistake. You disrespected me because you thought I was beneath you. That's a lesson. Learn it. The uniform doesn't make the soldier. The rank doesn't make the leader. You want to be a good officer? Start seeing people. Really seeing them. Every soldier you pass. Every person you think doesn't matter. They all matter. They all have a story. Morrison's voice was barely audible. Sir, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You shouldn't have to know, Henry said quietly. You should treat everyone with respect. Whether they're a janitor or a general. Whether they can do something for you or not. That's what honor means, Lieutenant. It's not about who's watching. It's about who you are when nobody's looking. Morrison nodded, his eyes wet. Yes, sir. I understand, sir. Morrison hesitated again. Sir, can I ask one more thing? About Khe Sanh. What you did. How did you keep going? When everything was falling apart. Henry was quiet for a long moment. His eyes went somewhere else. Somewhere 50 years away. January 21st, 1968. Hill 861. We were supposed to hold it for 24 hours until reinforcements arrived. Simple defensive position. Except the NVA had other plans. They hit us with everything. Mortars. Artillery. Small arms fire from 3 directions. We had 42 men. They had over 300. Morrison listened, completely still. Henry continued, his voice soft but steady. By hour 2 we were down to 30 men. By hour 4, 18. Everyone was wounded. We were out of ammunition. Calling in rounds from our own belts. And the NVA kept coming. Wave after wave. I radioed command. Told them we couldn't hold. They said reinforcements were delayed. 6 more hours minimum. Henry looked at Morrison. You know what one of my sergeants said to me? He said, Captain, if we run, they'll hunt us down in the jungle. If we stay, at least we die together. What did you do? Morrison's voice was barely audible. I looked at those 18 faces. Kids. Most of them younger than you. bleeding, terrified, and I realized something. Running wasn't an option. Not because of orders. Not because of duty. Because if I ran, those boys would die. But if I stayed, if I kept them organized, kept them fighting, maybe, just maybe, some of them would make it. Henry smiled sadly. So I stayed. We all stayed. 6 more hours. We threw rocks when we ran out of grenades. We fought with knives when we ran out of bullets. And when the helicopters finally came, when the reinforcements finally arrived, there were 11 of us left. 11 out of 42. But those 11 got to go home. Got to see their families again. That's what mattered. Morrison's eyes were wet. That's why they gave you the Medal of Honor. Henry shook his head. They gave me the medal because I was the officer. But those 11 men earned it just as much as I did. They're the real heroes. I just refused to leave them. He clapped Morrison on the shoulder. That's the lesson, son. Leadership isn't about being the toughest or the smartest. It's about refusing to abandon your people. No matter what. Henry picked up his mop bucket. Good. Now help me clean up this coffee. Your uniform's already ruined anyway. For a moment, Morrison just stood there, stunned. Then he moved. Got down on his knees. Started helping Henry mop up the coffee. The young officer and the retired general, side by side, cleaning the floor. Mitchell watched them. After a moment, she knelt too. Picked up paper towels from Henry's cart. Started helping. Other soldiers appeared in the corridor. Saw the colonel on her knees cleaning. Saw the old janitor. Saw the lieutenant. Word spread fast. Within 10 minutes, there were 20 soldiers in that hallway. All helping. All cleaning. Nobody saying much. Just working together. When the floor was clean, Henry stood. His knees ached. His back hurt. But he smiled. That same smile he always had. Thank you all. You didn't have to do that. Mitchell stood too. Sir, with your permission, I'd like to share your identity with the base. You've been hiding for 15 years. These soldiers deserve to know who you are. Henry was quiet for a long time. He looked around at the soldiers. Young faces. Old faces. Different colors. Different backgrounds. But all wearing the same uniform. All part of the same family. Finally he nodded. Okay. But no ceremony. No fuss. Just, let them know. If they ask. That afternoon, Colonel Mitchell sent out a base-wide email. 3 short paragraphs. The janitor you see cleaning the mess hall is Major General Henry Foster, retired, Medal of Honor recipient. He has chosen to work here for the past 15 years. He prefers to be called Henry. Please treat him with the respect he deserves, the same respect he shows all of you. The response was immediate. Soldiers started approaching Henry. Not to salute. Not to make a big deal. Just to talk. To shake his hand. To say thank you. Some told him stories about their own service. Others asked for advice. Henry listened to all of them. Smiled at all of them. Treated them all like they mattered. Because to him they did. Lieutenant Morrison found Henry 2 days later. The old man was emptying trash cans near the barracks. Morrison stood at attention. Sir, I wanted to apologize again. And to thank you. For the lesson. Henry waved him off. You learned it, son. That's what matters. Morrison hesitated. Sir, can I ask you something? Why didn't you tell me who you were? When I was yelling at you. You could have stopped me. Could have made me look like an idiot. Henry smiled. You were already doing that yourself. Didn't need my help. Morrison couldn't help but laugh. A bitter, embarrassed laugh. Henry's expression softened. I didn't tell you because the rank doesn't matter, James. What matters is how you treat people. If you only respect someone because of their title, that's not respect. That's fear. Or ambition. Real respect comes from seeing the person. Not their uniform. Not their job. The person. Morrison nodded slowly. I understand, sir. I do now. Henry clapped him on the shoulder. Good. Now get out of here. You've got soldiers to lead. Do it right. Morrison saluted. A real salute this time. Not because he had to. Because he wanted to. Henry returned it. And for just a moment, in that simple exchange you could see what he used to be. The general. The commander. The leader who brought 18 men home from hell. After Morrison left, Henry went back to his trash cans. An older sergeant approached him. Someone who'd been at the base for 20 years. General Foster? Got a minute? Henry smiled. It's just Henry. And sure. The sergeant shifted uncomfortably. I just wanted to say, I've been here 2 decades. Walked past you every day. Never asked your name. Never said good morning. I'm sorry for that. Henry shook his head. Don't be. I like being invisible. It was peaceful. The sergeant smiled sadly. Respectfully, sir, you were never invisible. We all saw you. We just didn't see you. You know what I mean. Henry nodded. I do. My question is, the sergeant said slowly, why? Why take this job? You could have done anything. Been anything. Why clean floors? Henry looked down at his hands. Old hands. Shaking hands. I spent 40 years in uniform. Loved every minute of it. But in 2005, my wife Martha got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The doctors gave her 6 months. The army offered me any posting I wanted. Any hospital in the world. The best care money could buy. He smiled, but it was a painful smile. Martha said no. She said, Henry, we've spent our whole life serving others. Let me spend my last months with just you. The sergeant waited quietly. Henry continued. So I retired. 3-star general. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs was next. Everyone said I was throwing away my career. But I didn't care. I took her home. Took care of her myself. Cooked her meals. Changed her bandages. Held her hand when the pain got too bad. She lasted 11 months. 11 months longer than the doctors said. The night before she died, she was lucid. Clear-eyed. She looked at me and said, Henry, promise me something. Promise me you won't hide in some retirement community. Promise me you'll stay close to soldiers. That's who you are. That's where you belong. Henry's voice cracked slightly. I promised her. And the next morning she was gone. 3 months later I was going crazy. Big empty house. Too quiet. Too many memories. I drove to Fort Campbell. Walked into the civilian personnel office. Asked if they had any openings. They said they needed a janitor. I took it. Been here ever since. He looked at the sergeant. I'm not here because I failed. I'm here because Martha was right. This is where I belong. Henry looked around the barracks. At the young soldiers walking past. At the flag flying in the distance. At the life he'd never really left. Because this is where I belong, he said simply. I spent 40 years leading soldiers. When my wife died, I didn't want to be alone. Didn't want to sit in some retirement home telling war stories. I wanted to be around soldiers. But I didn't want to lead anymore. Didn't want the responsibility. I just wanted to be close. To be useful. Even if it was just mopping floors. The sergeant was quiet. Then he came to attention and saluted. Henry returned it. When they dropped their hands, the sergeant said, You're the most useful person on this entire base, sir. Whether you're mopping floors or commanding divisions. Because you remind us why we're here. And how we should treat each other. Then he walked away. Henry stood there for a moment. 72 years old. Hands shaking. Back aching. Wearing a janitor's uniform with coffee stains still visible. But standing a little straighter. Smiling a little wider. Because for the first time in 15 years he wasn't hiding anymore. And it felt good. 1 year later, Lieutenant Morrison was promoted to captain. His first act was to drive to Fort Campbell. He found Henry in the barracks replacing light bulbs. General Foster. Do you have a minute? Henry looked down from the ladder. James. Look at you. Captain's bars. Congratulations. Morrison smiled, but it was a humble smile. Different from the arrogant kid who'd yelled about coffee. I wanted you to be the first to know. And to thank you. That day changed everything for me. Tell me, Henry said, climbing down from the ladder. Morrison took a breath. After what happened, I started actually listening to my soldiers. Really listening. Not just hearing their words, but understanding them. I learned their names. Their stories. Where they came from. What they cared about. He looked at Henry. 3 months ago we deployed to Afghanistan. My platoon got hit hard. IED took out our lead vehicle. 4 wounded. We were pinned down, taking fire from 2 positions. Henry listened quietly. Morrison continued. I remembered what you said. About Khe Sanh. About refusing to abandon your people. So I didn't call for medevac and pull back. I stayed. We fought our way to those wounded soldiers. Carried them out under fire. All 4 survived. His voice cracked. My commander recommended me for a Bronze Star. But I told him the real hero was a janitor who taught me what leadership actually means. Henry put his hand on Morrison's shoulder. You learned the lesson. That's all that matters. Those 4 soldiers went home because of you. Because you chose to be the kind of leader who stays. Morrison nodded, his eyes wet. I'm going to keep learning, sir. Every day. Because of you. After Morrison left, Henry stood there for a moment. 73 years old now. Still mopping floors. Still changing light bulbs. But knowing that somewhere out there, A young captain was leading soldiers the right way, teaching them what honor really meant. And that made every aching joint, every tired muscle, every long day worth it. 3 months later, the base held a change of command ceremony. Colonel Mitchell was moving to a new posting. During her speech, she talked about leadership, about respect, about seeing people. And then she told the story of the janitor and the lieutenant. The entire base was there. Thousands of soldiers. And when she finished, they all turned and looked at Henry Foster, standing quietly in the back in his janitor's uniform. And every single one of them saluted. Henry stood there, tears in his eyes, and saluted back. Not as a general. Not as a hero. Just as an old soldier, grateful to still be part of the family. The ceremony ended. People returned to their duties. And Henry Foster picked up his mop bucket and went back to work. Because that's what soldiers do. They serve. In whatever way they can. For as long as they can. Whether anyone's watching or not.